system that is ready for you. And for those of you who don't know, again, these were all of the parts that we put in the $1,000 PC build. When you have this, you have a perfect base from which to upgrade your PC at any point in time. You have a power supply that will support any new motherboard moving forward. You can easily throw in a graphics card or a new CPU and know that you're good to go. Like whether that's 4th gen Ryzen, because every time this is future proof, and you've got PCIe Gen 4 out of the box. I know that you can spend less money or even just a little bit more money and get outdated tech that is more powerful, but really wanted to make sure that you had something that you could easily upgrade. What did you think of this video? What did you think of the parts? Did you get enough details when you followed the guide? If we were gonna do a more in-depth guide, what would you like to see? Let us know about all of that stuff in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, you hit that like button, and ring that notification bell so you know each and every time we post a new video. Also, make sure you check out our live show every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. over at mixer.com/Roby1Kenobi. Make sure to give me a follow over on Instagram and Twitter at Roby1Kenobi, or over on Facebook, if your parents hang out there, at facebook.com/RobyTech. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for following this video. I hope you found this helpful, and maybe please let me know in the comments if you have one of these that you built following this guide. Thank you very much, guys. Now go play some games on this awesome system you just built. Hashtag beefy cores.
Let me rush the guy, know the smell.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to RobyTech. Last week we dealt with everyone's burning question about what the best PC for $500 is. We walked through the parts, told you our reasoning, and sent it out to the wilds of the internet. However, we are not done yet. No. We don't just recommend a PC full of parts and call it a day, do we, Brian?
No.
Do we, Josh?
No.
That's right. We got everybody here. I'm pretty excited. We're gonna build it, we're gonna test it, and we're gonna see how our recommendations actually hold up. Just like I anticipated, it isn't easy choosing a $500 PC. And we had a lot of comments on the build when we put it out there. It's not like I wasn't expecting to get a lot of comments. I mean, this is YouTube, however, and of course, you guys know more than I do, and I'm okay with that. But I wanted to walk us through the parts again today, and I'll try to address some of those comments, because I did have reasonings and I felt they were important. So today, it's not just about rehashing what we did in last week's video, it's also about building it, getting it up and running, and playing some games to see how this little beast is going to perform. A couple of the same caveats. First, this is not made to look pretty. Now here we are optimizing for power regardless of how it looks, and I'm throwing in some cable extensions to make sure it looks good for B-roll, because even though this isn't one of our killer builds, there's only so much I'm willing to sacrifice. But remember, the cable extensions are optional. You do not have to put them in, but we gotta make it look good. You know what I'm saying? The CPU and GPU were the most critical components here, with the GPU being the most important. So we had to sacrifice across the other parts, including looks, to get the best PC for the $500 price. Second, prices change, and at the time of our original filming, it came in at just over $500. In fact, when I rechecked on all the prices after we released the video, it had actually jumped by $40, and a lot of the parts had quickly gone out of stock. Now, I've added additional links in the description below, but these are volatile times, and I just can't promise where prices are going to be on a week-to-week basis. Now, like I had stated in the previous video, this isn't like my cornerstone $1,000 build, which is made to be upgraded and includes all the latest and greatest tech like PCIe Gen 4 from AMD and Nvidia. When you get to $500, a lot of that goes out the window, because here it is about maximizing the power per dollar across generations of components, not just using X570 and the latest gear. Fundamentally, outside of replacing the GPU or even the CPU, to bolster the brawn of this PC, you aren't going to see PCIe Gen 4 or USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 here, because you just cannot do that at this price point. This means that if, and I do emphasize if, there is support for PCIe Gen 4 3000 series NVIDIA or RDNA 2 cards from AMD, you aren't going to be able to use this build recommendation to unlock that potential. In fact, you would be hard-pressed at this price point to find anything like that. Now, that's not to say you can't unlock a lot of potential when upgrading this PC, but it has limits compared to my 1K PC, which you can check out here, which gives you the ability to adopt all the latest architecture from AMD and NVIDIA. Now, this build will give you great high FPS gaming, and will run games at 1080p at greater than 100 frames per second with the ability to modify settings to run at 1440p or 4K if you adjust the settings to work with those resolutions. This is no gaming beast of a PC. There's going to have to be some compromises in graphical fidelity to get some frame rates you want. It's no slouch either, don't get me wrong, and it will more than scratch that PC gaming itch aplenty, and do it well. Now, by the way, I will be updating these guys on a 3-month basis and trying to keep you up to date on what to buy in the $500, $1,000, and $2,000 price point, if it changes that much. So, you need to be sure to slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so you get a notification each and every time we post a new video here to keep you in the know. Also, we will have updated links to all the parts in the description below. So if you want to pick up the build, just head on down there and add them to your cart. Now, let's go over the parts in the build again. So for CPU, I chose the 6-core, 12-thread Ryzen 5 1600AF. This is the 12nm refresh of the 14nm Ryzen 5 1600. Performance-wise though, this thing does not perform like a Ryzen 5 1600, but is actually in some cases outperforming the Ryzen 5 2600. Now this was available for $85 over on Amazon and at $99 over at Newegg versus the $120 plus Ryzen 5 2600, which is a steal. Now it has been going out of stock here and there over the past week, so just keep your eyes peeled as this has been a very popular CPU. I know some people did ask, and frankly you just can't get an equivalent Intel offering that also includes a cooler for the same price. That's not to say for gaming, you wouldn't benefit from like an i5 7600K, but there are literally twice the price with no cooler, making it hard to get into a $500 build. The cheapest Intel CPU I could find was the i3 8100 for close to that price, and that just wasn't realistic to recommend given the performance versus a 1600AF. For motherboard, I chose the ASRock B450M HDV R4. What a fun name. I'm gonna call my next kid that. Hello, ASRock B450M HDR4. I mean, can you imagine the teacher? How do you spell that? The R4 of the ASRock board is Ryzen 3000 ready and doesn't need a BIOS upgrade if you want to throw in a 3600X or 3800X at a later point. No real feedback on this, so it looks like people understood my reasoning, which is great. I'm gonna keep it there. For GPU, I chose the Asus GeForce GTX 1650 Super Overclocked 4GB Phoenix Fan Edition. Man, it just sounds like so many words together. It's like reading a wrestling team. Again, this is a great card for 1080p gaming, and when you look at the benchmarks for this card, you can easily get to 100 FPS without sacrificing too much from a game visual standpoint, within reason. Now, I went through my reasonings on why not AMD, and it simply came down to price. For equivalent price and drive stability, there isn't a good AMD card to recommend, even at the 590 or 580. For RAM, I chose Team T-Force Vulcan Z 16GB 2x8GB DIMM of DDR4 3200 MHz RAM. This gives you the additional speed should you decide to upgrade to a 3000 series Ryzen in the future. And because the 1600AF does have the improved IMC of the 2600, 3200 MHz should be no issue. But we will, and I emphasize we will, test it. For storage, I went with the Team Group T-Force Vulcan 2.5-inch 250GB SATA 3 SSD. Now, I got a ton of feedback on this, and I wanted to make some recommendations for other options if 250GB is too small, which I agree is not a lot of space. You could also choose a 1TB FireCuda 7200 RPM hybrid SSHD. Now, you will sacrifice load times to some degree, but again, a lot of additional space. Ideally, I would pair this plus a 200.
Enemy UAV overhead. Team deathmatch. We've got enemy inbound. Lock and load.
Throwing grenade!
Road's done.
Oh my god.
Enemy at the warehouse.
Tag, I'm reloading. Throw it smoke. Throw it done. Frag out. Throwing stun! Ah!
Oh!
Enemy UAV overhead. Enemy personal radar in the air. Grenade out! I'm reloading!
Oh my god.
Target down.
Enemy at the warehouse.
I'm taking fire! Flash out!
Taking fire. Gotta dig deep.
Knock that shit off!
In the house.
Throwing grenade!
West. Oh! They're gone. Oh shit!
Oh my
Friendly UAV overhead. Fire here! Taking fire!
Flash out!
Oh man! God damn!
We've got a UAV on station, ready for flyover. UAV entering the AO. Cluster strike is go for launch.
This is loader 2. Cluster strike away.
Flash out!
Enemy cluster strike.
Oh yeah, right. Come on.
Enemy care package inbound. Be advised, UAV is bingo fuel. RTB for resupply.
Flash out!
They're gone. All day, lads. Clean yourselves up.